crack this nut and go all the way down on these top 5 lists, but we're trying. We're doing our best we can. This is a survey from The Athletic where they asked over 1,000 Ohio State fans. They do this every year. How do you feel about a variety of things, right? This one was based on how do you feel after winning the national championship game. They brought up this question, among others that I found interesting. They asked this. They said, Jack Sawyer recently said winning a national championship is more important than winning the game against Michigan. Do you agree? 89% of respondents said yes. The game, not as important as winning a national championship. I don't feel like that would have been the case 30 years ago. I do feel like maybe 10 years ago, it would have been more 50-50. But 90% of Buckeye fans say, oh, yeah, national championship. Now, is that recency bias, do you think? Right, that's what I think.
100%. No, because if this survey was issued on November 30th, then the complete inverse responses would have come in.
Yeah, I think it would have been a lot more people, to your point, saying, because for me, here's where I'm at. As a longtime Buckeye fan, I know a lot of people who answer this are longtime Buckeye fans. A lot of people listening are. But I grew up in the era where it was not a given that you beat Michigan. Go figure. We're back there now. And I grew up in that era, remembering very much that if I ever got a chance to watch my Buckeyes beat Michigan and see it routinely, I would never tire of it. I would never get sick of it. So that's why when you had the Tressel era followed by the Urban era, and it was just a given that you were beating Michigan every year or almost every year, I would look at Buckeye fans who said, I don't even know if I really enjoy this that much. And I'm like, I can't relate to you. I will never not enjoy this. I love it. It's my favorite thing of all time is to beat Michigan. I realize I'm in the minority now, but to me, beating Michigan is the ultimate feeling that I get as a college football fan. I get the national championship game. That feels like something that anyone else can enjoy. Beating Michigan is the thing only us Ohio State fans can really enjoy in the way that we do. And that's why, to me, it's just a little more special. Would I trade beating Michigan last year for that national championship game? No, probably not. I admit that having the trophy is awesome. But I'm just telling you that, to me, which one's more special?
Yeah.
Beating Michigan, you get the chance to do every year. You're not guaranteed a chance at a national championship every year. You are guaranteed a chance to play Michigan every year and beat them. And for me, I'd rather... That is the thing that I care about more. That is the thing I am more interested in. I realize that puts me in the minority of Buckeye fans, but that's where I am.
I'm often accused of not fully understanding the rivalry because I did not grow up in it, which I'll never be able to change. I have lived here for 13 years now, 365 days a year. I talk about Ohio State football, think about Ohio State football. And again, I don't have that same experience like the Austin and Berm show. Berm grew up in it, and he has a very different view on it, which is great. I think that we can bounce off of each other because when I do come at it from a more national perspective or from the outside as a transplant to Columbus, which is my home, it is the place I've lived the longest in my entire life, and I love it. But I think that the national championship, because of the uniqueness and because of the difficulty, I'm always thinking, well, of course you would want that trophy. They're harder to win. And that's not to disrespect that it's hard to win the rivalry and hard to win the game, but the same thing that you talk about, that you get that every single year, the uniqueness of a national championship and the opportunity to win it does not come along every day. And when you have that, you embrace it. And I get that youth Bone grew up thinking about that rivalry, and there's a countdown clock in the Woody, and that's what you point to every single year. I wonder if maybe the shift to the expanded playoff could help put some importance back on the game.
I definitely think it could.
Because it's shifted back the other... It's shifted in times where it was no longer going to be important. It's no longer mandatory, which what made the game great. You had to beat Michigan to win the Big Ten, to get to a playoff, to win a national championship. It was a requirement. It's not that anymore. We know that that's true. And I think that may have helped turn the temperature down on late November if you come up short. I know people are turning the channel right now. I can't stand that I would possibly even say that. Maybe you're thinking that right now, and I won't be back tomorrow. But like, the fact that you can move on from that game and then like the next day, well, there might be something else to look forward to and another trophy you can win, I think may help. That doesn't mean that the week or the regular season build up to the game should be any less important. But if it becomes its own, I guess my point is if it becomes its isolated, if you are removing it from the playoff race, if you're removing it from maybe even the Big Ten race, and it just becomes this one-off, this one opportunity that is gold pants and bragging rights only, and you can focus on that and remove it from the rest of the conversation, that might be better for the long-term vitality of the game than it has been maybe in the last few years.
I think you understand the rivalry quite well there, because that is something that I don't feel like a lot of maybe more recent Buckeye fans or younger Buckeye fans get. And again, I can only speak for myself. I'm 42 years old, going to be 43 this year. I grew up in the 90s when John Cooper could not figure out how to beat Michigan most of the time. John Cooper took away senior tackle. There's a senior tackle tradition. That used to be a very public thing. They would, cameras would be there. One year he just shut it down. He's like, no, I'm not doing senior tackle before Michigan game because that's throwing us off. That's what it, and he would always try to tweak every little thing because it was like everything was clenched. He just couldn't figure it out, and he had to squeeze on that orange a little bit more to try to find, is there any more juice left? How do we get something that'll help me beat Michigan? And I feel like Jim Tressel came in and was like, we're going to win this game. I'm not worried.
No pressure.
I won national championships. I know what I'm doing. And I mean, that was a year where they went, 7-5, and I think lost to South Carolina in the bowl game, but they beat Michigan. And that turned it around for that confidence level in winning that. Urban came in and was like, I've won national championships. We can definitely beat Michigan. Didn't lose the importance of it, but had it in the right perspective. And I feel like for Ryan Day now, his job isn't hanging in the balance if he goes and beats Michigan. And I feel like that's going to help him a little bit in that rivalry. And once you get the momentum back, I think he's not going to lose it once you get a couple victories in that series, but you got to do it. I guess for me, ultimately, I lived in an era, grew up in an era where the Buckeyes they were very good. They were a team that would go undefeated and you'd think maybe had a chance. But if you go look back at those Cooper era teams, NFL talent galore, they usually had a loss or two. They usually had some kind of blemish that maybe they could have won a national championship if everything fell right, if they beat Michigan. And then they'd lose to Michigan, and that would be blamed for why they couldn't. Oh, they didn't win the national championship. Here's why. But it probably would have been something else that got a lot of those teams. That was just the thing we put in our head. For me, beating Michigan was always about the kid at school who didn't watch any college football, who showed up in Michigan gear and also wore Yankees gear and Bulls gear and a Jordan jersey. That's the kid that would come in the day after that game and be like, yeah, my guys did it. They're looking at Michigan. And you're just like, you don't even watch them. You're just a contrarian a-hole, douchebag. That's why you're doing this. That's, to me, what the rivalry is about. I don't want to see that guy happy. Yeah. I don't want to see the guy in our chat today on YouTube, who I love, this Herring guy. Nice for him. He's 2,000 days since Ohio State beat Michigan. That is what I grew up with in the 90s that I hate. I hate that taste. I would rather have trophies to this point of this survey, but obviously beating Michigan to me will always, it's just something you can't replicate anywhere else in college football, for me. And I'm sure a Bama fan would say that about their rivalries, like beating Auburn. Is that always necessary to go win a national championship? Not anymore. But you don't want to lose the Iron Bowl. I think that's just what rivalries are in sports. I think they give you that little something.
I almost just made a massive mistake, which was saying that SEC fans had proper perspective on something. I want to make sure. I was running it through my brain as you were talking about the Iron Bowl and the importance, but they did have something of a head start when you think about, the last 10 years in Alabama understanding and seeing that maybe winning and losing your rivalry game would not be the end of your season. That you, as a fan and as a program, as Nick Saban, could turn the page and see that you would still have opportunities. Now, they may have been gifted a few that they didn't deserve to get into the playoff and then go win a national championship after that. But Alabama, there are only a few programs that can actually have this conversation that we're having about the game and the importance of the rivalry, because there are only 5 true head-to-head rivalries that resonate across all of college football. And when you think about the teams that have those and compete for a national championship every year, the likes of Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State, Michigan, unrivaled Penn State. It's a short list of teams that can actually participate in this conversation. Wyoming and Colorado State is very important to me for the border war and the Bronze Boot. It does. It never has college football playoff implications. Never has conference championship implications.
Not yet.
Colorado State better not have playoff implications. But for Wyoming, that's a different conversation. But thank you for giving me that optimism, Bodie. But the point is, like, other programs have already seen this and they had the benefit. Now Ohio State's in that same boat. Okay, yes, I'm a fan of Ohio State. I want Ohio State to beat Michigan more than anything in the world. But if it doesn't happen, I don't have to stop cheering for my team. I don't have to demand that the Woody is torn down. I don't have to give up because they're going to have another opportunity to go accomplish something great. And so Jack Sawyer and Will Howard helped underscore that.
It's like Harry and Lloyd, right, in Dumb and Dumber. Just when I think you couldn't get any dumber, you go do something like this. Totally redeem yourself. That's the time you've got right there.
There you
go. The Haslam's did something good for once. No, they did. They did something actually really good yesterday, I believe, anyway. We'll talk about it next. T-Bone and Tyvis with Austin Ward on The Fan.
Fan traffic. From the Atlas Butler Plumbing Services Traffic Center.
Good morning and welcome to your Thursday. We do have a crash that we're closely monitoring. This is in the Etna-Pataskala area if you're making your way downtown. 70 westbound just past State Route 310. Expect some lane closures if you're heading in that area, but the road is open, so